SGF, we could not do it without them. They're our partners for today's event and all events. So if you can ever give them a shout out, please do. The mission of the Urban Land Institute is to shape the future of the built environment for transformative impact in communities worldwide. It is a worldwide organization, and again, we are bringing it to Southwest Missouri. The goals for ULI are to connect, inspire, and lead. If any of you have gone onto the website to take a look, the educational and conversational opportunities are just limitless. So I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to join. All right, this is important. If you have any questions for today's panelists, we will not shout them out. We won't raise hands. They will come in through this app. I will, after the slideshow, I will put it back on the screen for you guys to get that on your phones. If you are unable to do it, if it doesn't work, just holler at me because I will also be monitoring the questions. Our guests today, our panelists, are Marco Dennis, owner of Springfield Property LLC, Mark Meyer. Is it Mayor or Meyer?
Mayor.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
No
Mark
problem.
Mayer, Senior VP of Banking at Guarantee Bank, Ross Murray, President of Arby Murray, Bob Newell, VP of Business Development at Erlin Group, Jesse Whitten, Chief of Operations at Correll, and Gerald Zamora, Senior Advisor at CRA. Tim Smith was unable to make it today, so Tim Rosenberry is going to be our moderator. Our next event is going to be a social event, networking / happy hour. What we're trying to do with our programming is every other month have an informative lunch and learn, and then every other month have more of a social networking event. There will be some information, but not a lot. The majority of that, the purpose of those is so we can actually connect, make those connections, and future conversations. Oh, by the way, that's going to be at Chesterfield Village at Kinetic Design. And you guys, of course, will see more information on that. That is September 28th. Our next Lunch and Learn is October 27th, a housing panel at the Fairbanks, which we are really excited about. Amy Blansett is one of our panelists, and there will be a couple more with her. But before that, October 7th, we are doing, instead of a drive-in movie night, we're doing a bike-in movie night at the Springfield Art Museum Amphitheater. If the weather's great, we're going to be outside. If it's raining, we're allowed to take it inside. Hopefully we'll have fabulous weather. We encourage all of you to bicycle there if you can. There will be some parking, but again, the whole point of this is to bicycle and just to learn more about bicycling as our main method of transportation. Coincidentally enough, that same night will be the City of Springfield Lantern Walk. We are not partnering with them on this, but there will be 5 neighborhoods that will also be walking from their neighborhoods to Phelps Grove. So it will be a larger event going on October 7th. It's a Saturday night, and that should really be an exciting time for alternative modes of transportation and to make awareness for bicycle and pedestrian safety. Play Summit is in Northwest Arkansas, November 8th and 9th. If you haven't registered, I encourage you to go look it up. This QR code is on the table outside if you're interested. If you're a member of ULI, you get a huge discount on this. It's a 2-day summit. Upcoming webinars, 15-minute community, that's on September 13th. And then one on September 18th, Get to Know ULI. Again, if you're new to this, I encourage you to sign on to those. Thank you to our leadership team, Brandon Biscuit, Bruce Adigasti, did I say that right? Andrew Doolittle, myself, Leslie Forrester, Tim Rosenberry, and Eric Olson. We are obsessed with ULI now, and so we hope you become obsessed as well. And again, thank you to today's partner. And I'm going to go back up to that Slido app. So there you go. All right. So what I'd like to do right now is to bring up Robert Randolph. He is the Executive Director for the Plaza Center for Manufacturing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then Matthew Clemens. What's your role here at OTC?
Chief Research and Governmental Affairs.
There you go. And he said also a city council member.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. Executive Director here at the Prosperous Manufacturing Center. Love having groups like you all here. This is exciting. We love to engage with the community. We also love to engage with local school districts. We've got a lot of visitors coming. We've had just shy of 2,000 K-12 visitors come visit us last year, and aiming to increase that this year. So it's a transformative project for our community, designed by Dayquil, built by Coughlin Construction. We've been open 1 year now. We've got 8 degree programs in the building. Those are growing, which is really imperative for our local manufacturing and technology workforce. Much needed in our area. 120,000 square feet here. Almost all of that is dedicated to training the next generation workforce. We do have an exciting development inside this facility as well in our business partner space. We've dedicated 15,000 square feet of high bay manufacturing space to an economic development role where we have business partners lease on a short-term basis, whether that be business incubation, soft planning for companies relocating to this region, or R&D and process development. It's really a clean slate greenfield, provides some turnkey manufacturing space, which is a really neat feature. I hope you enjoy your time here in the facility. Definitely, if you get an opportunity, take a look around. This is truly a world-class facility in a center of excellence, and a model for the state of Missouri and the greater region, where we hope to see more focus and emphasis on workforce development. I'm happy to have you, and welcome.
Thank you. I'd like to join Robert in welcoming both, wearing my city and OTC hat. And, I think it's really fitting that you all are here because this center shows the value of planning. This is a result of planning efforts and fits very well within your organization's mission. Those planning efforts for the center started back in 2017 when we were working on our strategic plan and heard from the community the need for a center like this, turned into community support for funding it, and then we went and visited. We picked out what we thought were the best centers like this that existed across the nation, went and visited all of them, asked each of them, if you could do this over again, what's one thing you would keep, what's one thing you would improve. We were able to learn from the millions of dollars they spent, learn those lessons from them, take them to this center. And we also have the same focus on transformative impact that you all do at ULI. There's nothing better for us as college employees than on commencement day when we see a student get their degree, have their family with them, and know the difference that degree and that career is going to make for them and for their family over the course of their entire lives. And the same thing is true with good planning for built environments that you all are working on for ULI. So we appreciate you all being here, and are looking forward to the discussion.
What I'd like to do is play pass the mic. Here you go. No. The mic stops. And just give us a minute or less introduction to who you are and what you've been doing in the community.
Okay, my name is Marco Dennis. I've been in Springfield for about 29 years now. So I was born in Haiti. I started my first business here in Springfield. It was a cell phone store. I used to own Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile cell phone stores. And then also, while I was doing that, I started doing residential properties. So I used to flip a lot of properties and also rent a lot of them. So I had about, say, 250 single families. So I did a lot of things around Springfield. And now I'm doing strictly commercial properties. So I am the owner of the Plaza Tower. I'm doing the innovation on the corner of Sunshine and Mason.
Jesse, tell us about yourself.
So Jesse Witten, I work for TLC Properties. I've been there for the last 12 years. Done anything from leasing to project management, and now assisting on the operations side and leading that team and helping build new developments in the Springfield area, kind of just figuring out what the community wants and what they need and figuring out how we can bring it to them. So that's.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, Charles Mora, broker owner of Zamora Real Estate. I have 18 years experience in real estate, starting with 2004, I was a residential broker salesperson. 2015, I joined Mike Fusick with SVN until 2021, I opened up Zamora. I have a high passion for real estate. I think it's the first time I get out of my office in 2 years, so thank you for the invite. God's given me an opportunity to serve people, everything from brokers, owners, landlords, tenants, buyers, and it's extended indirectly to company managers and staff and families. So it's been an incredible opportunity. I want to take the time to thank anyone who's supported me and the company. The journey we've had together has been great. I want to extend an invitation to anyone who wants to meet. I do much better one-on-one. Usually my threshold is 5 people before I get nervous. Let's do coffee, lunch, dinner. On you, of course. I learned that from Marco. But ultimately, it's an incredible opportunity to sit with this panel. There's a tremendous amount of experience, wisdom. Some of the people here actually serve as mentors to me, so I want to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Welcome. Bob?
Awesome. Bob Newell, Vice President of Development for the Erlen Group. For those of you who don't know, the Erlen Group is a family of industrial companies. Most of you probably know us from the Springfield Underground. That's a business that most of us know, but we say we go from rocks to real estate. So we have the aggregates division where we own quarries in 3 different locations, and then we say that's an interim land use for our underground mines that we turn into storage. So Springfield Underground is 3.2 million leasable square feet underground, and it's an extremely important facility for our region, and we're proud of it. So thanks for having me here.
Mark?
Mark Mayer, commercial lending, Guarantee Bank. Tim's one of my bosses. He's on our board, so he told me to be here, so I'm here. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to speak and be a part of this. I've been banking almost 20 years. Moved here my freshman year in high school in 1994, so Springfield's definitely home. And what I enjoy about my job is getting to be on the ground floor of projects and seeing them to the finish line and see clients be successful and continue to expand and develop in Springfield. I've got to have the pleasure of doing that for almost 20 years now. Look forward to doing it hopefully another 20 years. Thanks for having me today.
Ross Murray, Harvey Murray Company. I'm actually a 4th generation in the commercial real estate business. It's been around back since 1909. That's back before commercial real estate was what it is today. Long-standing family company, boutique brokerage, predominantly do a little bit of development, property management. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today with the community mindset and the short time. So looking to Tim.
Yeah, given the makeup of this roundtable, most of our discussion today will be around real estate development, which is a focus area of ULI. And arguably the one thing that all of us, including myself, have in common. So, transformative impact in communities. Anyone want to name an example of something, a development or a plan or any initiative really, that has had a transformative impact on the built environment? Maybe something you've been involved in or something you admire. Anybody want to take that?
This whole manufacturing facility with the school is able to generate, I think, has really helped put us on the map. I've had tons of people in the industrial manufacturing world, which we do a tremendous amount of work on the brokerage side. Applaud Springfield as a community to go ahead and take this initiative to build this building, bring this facility to Springfield, and then to follow through with the actual actions of doing it. I think it's a tremendous attribute to the city of Springfield and to our community. There's others, and I'm sure others can come up with examples of, but to me, today is unique as it may be, being in this facility. This is actually my first time in the building. Is very impressive, and kudos to everybody through the whole community that's involved in this whole process. So this, to me, this is probably one of the best examples I can think of.
Anybody else?
It may come off as a little self-serving, this is our company, but I think Springfield Underground is a fantastic example of something that the community has an amazing asset. You're talking about 400 people working underground every single day from several different companies in our community, whether it's in logistics or manufacturing. You got 600 to 700 trucks in and out of that facility every single day. So just what that does for commerce in our region is transformative. I think that's the right word for it.
I wasn't part of financing it, but I think of like Jordan Valley Innovation Center, JVIC with the public-private partnership, and as that continues to grow, bring veterans, entrepreneurs, has obviously helped kind of change the skyline of Center City and just been a instrumental thing and continues to be on putting to work, and seems like we'll continue to for a long time going forward.
And I was in there recently, or maybe in the last month, and I was in the new portion of the building, and it is impressive. It's worth the visit. It's just remarkable, not just what happens inside it, but what it is. So, Marco, I want you to talk for just a second about there's projects that transform, but there's also transforming projects. And I drive by Plaza Towers every day, and it looks like that's what you've attempted to do.
Well, I agree with you on that, for sure. I mean, everybody who has been to the Plaza Tower before I purchased it, you all know that thing was falling down, and not just the outside, the inside, also the membrane of everything. So, and I realize a lot of people in Springfield, not just Springfield, I mean, this is the second tallest building in Springfield, so therefore, a lot of people have a lot of good memories, and also this building means a lot to them.
Mm.
So therefore, I will say that, I mean, based on the feedback that I received, I would say everybody is very grateful and appreciate the work that we've done. I'm probably never gonna get my money back from this. I used to be rich, but now I'm poor. But it's something who, especially in that corner, I don't know if you, some of you know that, but that intersection with Glen's on the Sunshine, it is actually the second busier intersection in the state of Missouri. Okay, so therefore, we have more traffic than anywhere else, and a lot of people, not only people from Springfield, from all over the United States, know about this corner. Okay, because whenever they try to looking for a property to like national companies, they want to come to Springfield. They want to see where. I mean, what's the traffic thing? Usually they talk to me about that. They say, "Oh, this corner is good." So therefore, I mean, let's not talk about that. But the thing is, I didn't build a new building, but the impact that we done to that little section is something that's really good for Springfield, and I think a lot of people do that also to several places, and just like Jerry done at the Wakewood Shopping Center also. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work in Springfield, and I'm very proud of them.
So you joked, or maybe you were serious, that you used to be rich and now you're not. Is Plaza Towers a passion project for you? But is it also is it going to be a good business move for you?
It's more like a passion for me, to be honest with you, because I've been in Springfield.
And they can be both. It can be a passion project that also makes.
There is potential, but the potential will take a while to get there. But what I'm most proud of is the fact that I done something in that corner that everybody appreciated, and I wanted to, because I mean, when I was younger, I drove by there, look at that building. I mean, it was something amazing to me. So, and I want to keep it that way. But eventually, I mean, I don't know if you guys know, my goal is to basically try to revamp the whole corner, the whole section. So I did punches to where Jim Steakhouses, I own that also, and where Jersey Mike is also. So we have a lot of projects that we will be doing, do big innovation for the corner. But I hope we're gonna be talking about certain things also, because I have a vision for that corner where I like to build like a water fountain for families and stuff like that in my parking lot. But I want to talk about that also later, because for some reason the city of Springfield giving a lot of problem to people trying to do the thing. So we're gonna talk about that.
We do want to talk about that, because I'm one of the people in the city that looked at it. Okay, let's talk about it. How does a banker suss out a passion project versus a good credit?
Thanks for firing that one at me. Yeah, Ross on this one. You know, it's pro formas of what you think projects can do when it becomes a passion project, trying to turn into a profitable deal. Really just have to understand the market and know that, you know, in Springfield, in my opinion, in the last couple of years, rental rates, whether it's leasing, commercial, a house, apartments, have increased significantly. And with the low interest rate environment, that was a really good combination. And so you could see those trends continue to be supportive and supported to make projects work. So, you know, equity in always helps, and then ultimately, when we see a project brought to us, if they're saying you can get $25 a square foot to lease, is the market going to bear and support that? Can the tenant afford it that you're trying to lease it to? And so all that goes into it. And if we believe in that, you got a balance sheet, we're going to work with you on a passion project to turn it into something that will transform Springfield.
Other transformative.
I was going to say part of the dangers of common traffic in the city is that the city will put out roundabout at the intersection pretty soon. So, well, part of the question was legacy, and you know, I wanted to share my favorite property developments, which include Chesterfield Village, Farmers Park, Bass Pro, and downtown Springfield. I dove deep yesterday and this morning into Chesterfield Village, had a conversation with Larry Lipscomb, and went online and just looked up some of the information of its development. RB Murray was actually a big part of that development. It was an incredible journey for them, because ultimately it took over 10 years to develop it. Larry Lipscomb, with his grandfather's blessings, basically took on the project to develop the commercial aspect. And part of the requirements for him to purchase it, or to develop it, was to continue the legacy. So the conversation I had with him this morning is actually pretty cool. Chesterfield Village, when it was just land, used to be a development for Ford tractor training. And he would house individuals in Monet, and it would be a group of 10 people that would shoot pool, discuss the training of Ford tractors, and then he included some of the people that were involved with it. Henry Ford, Ronald Reagan, and then proceeded to send me pictures, which is really, really neat. So over time, the vision that Larry had was unique, and I read this also in the SPJ, that part of the development strategy was done by purchasing train sets. So I called him and said, is it true you purchased train sets to, you know, draw up the plan for Chesterfield? He said yes, but he would also travel to different cities to see kind of the landscape of what he could bring to Springfield. So, you know, I'll transition why this question is important, and it's important for development. Because also behind what we see in development, there's the engineers, the visionaries like Marco, that plays an important aspect. And really it's the division of, do I go into this focus with money, working backwards, or do I go into it with a vision and create a plan for the long term? The four individuals that stand out, including Marco, are Larry Lipscomb, Johnny Morris, Matt O'Reilly with Farmers Park, because truly, these are individuals that took the first step of creating a vision, and for them what was important was the long-term plan. So when you break it down, they were way ahead of their time. You know, Chesterfield Village was developed in 1994 during its final stages. Obviously, Farmers Park was more recent. But, you know, we can go deeper into the values behind the development by encouraging people to go back and talk to individuals who have crafted 40 years of perfection, get the best ideas, and then go into development. You'll succeed in that manner.
But I will say that Chesterfield Village has not been copied or you know, people have Springfield's a bandwagon town in many ways, but there hasn't been a Chesterfield Village bandwagon, so to speak, where there's other Chesterfield Village-like developments.
Well, think of Galloway, what we did down there, Sammy kind of started that path, setting in township, and then getting the abatement and everything else that kind of fell along that path. Completely, I just remember seeing the original pictures of that area, and now seeing it now, you would never have known that was the same area, so.
What made that project possible?
Honestly, at this time, the city, because the neighborhood was not welcoming of us.
She took the bait.
You're welcome. I'll catch my eye.
You want to explain that a little bit for everybody else in the room, how the city made that possible?
So going in there, kind of trying to do what we did with Township, it was not that property is gorgeous. It was very expensive to build, and being able to get the tax abatement on that property was what made that property possible. And then it also brought in not only other area where people be able to develop in that area, and made that such a walkable community, and then everything they need is there. So kind of going back to being more green, you can stay there. Yes, you may have to drive out, but hopefully you use our EV chargers and be a little bit more green on that area, or you can walk to whatever you need in that area as well.
Yeah, that really did, that was a catalyzing project. And it just took off further on down and connected to the original part of Galloway, down there a couple of days ago for lunch. Okay, let's turn to the present day market and talk a little bit about the unmet opportunities for transformation in Southwest Missouri. What's left to do? And this may be some of the things that you all are considering doing. What's both the low-hanging and the high-hanging fruit from y'all's perspective?
I'll start with the opportunities that are available are the revitalization of some areas, considering downtown Springfield, downtown Ozark, which already started, and besides that, there's also the future value. So a lot of times developers will make a comment like there's nowhere else to build, which is true, but you also have to consider outside the boundaries of what's going to happen in the future. Other cities are starting to develop up. So take the concept of Galloway, take the concept of Chesterfield Village, Farmers Park. They've encompassed a larger area to provide for the restaurants you just went to, for the office space that you need for the residents. Since we're limited on space, a lot of new developers in bigger cities are starting to go up. And it's making sense because with new technologies, new construction, considering efficiencies, considering what's going to make lifestyle more effective, that's probably one of the bigger perspectives that we have to look into for long-term growth.
So driving through Springfield, you see these grocery stores. It's like one grocery store after another that just goes through there. Obviously, it's not sustaining grocery stores, so I see it is because I see the giant arms parking lot, so we think residential. Doing apartments, doing something like Heritage or something in those areas. However, trying to get market here to approve my performa, trying to infill inside urban areas is very expensive, trying to buy the land. So then working with the city and working with the surrounding area, because you're gonna need those tax abatements to be able to make your project work, or I'm not gonna have rents that the normal everyday person can afford.
It's a good transition of going up. For us, we're underground right now, but we're going to the surface. So for us, you talk about low-hanging fruit. I think the biggest thing for me is collaboration between municipalities, because we work on the scale that we do, both on the east side and west side, where we have 600 acres on the east side, 740 acres on the west side. I'm not only working with the city of Springfield on access, sewer, infrastructure. I've got Green County I'm working with, and MoDOT. And it's no different than Chesterfield Village and Farmers Park. I'm sure they had to work with MoDOT because of highway access. And it just seems like there's real opportunity for collaboration. And one thing that we're doing, and current city leadership has been awesome so far, We're just starting down the process of certifying these sites. We're going, at least 4 of our sites we're certifying with the Missouri Department of Economic Development. And
Explain what that means to be a certified.
yeah, so what that means in the industrial world and the manufacturing world is that the sites are shovel ready. They're ready to go. And we feel like we're really close on those, but like I said earlier, the infrastructure, the sewer, that access is what's so important. And candidly, some of the hardest and most expensive parts for us. We've got land. It's a matter of how turnkey is it and getting to that piece. So current city leadership, city utilities, we're starting to go down that path, and we feel like it's going to be very, very fruitful.
I think that's great. I think redevelopment is, like Gerald said, extremely important of not only downtown area, but just all over. As we've seen the unprecedented cost of construction, we're seeing numbers on land that we've never seen before on the retail side. But to really look at this from a geographical standpoint and take it further than just downtown or east or west is, as a community between Springfield, Republic, Ozark, Nixa, people that are from outside the area, they look at us as kind of one collective unit. And as I see the sprawling kind of going on because we're out of land to develop because the performance don't work, which means the densities don't work, and you have to go vertical. To me, the key is if Springfield wants to get to the next level, whether it be retail, office, manufacturing, distribution, as Bob pointed out, we're landlocked in some respects on some of those. Infrastructure, and working as a public-private partnership between all the municipalities, MoDOT, and the developers and people that take the initiative to do all this. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. I mean, you guys have worked on that underground project for decades. So, yeah, 7 years. And so, to me, if I was picking a quadrant of town that we've been involved in, and I know Tim, you've been involved in with various different folks throughout your career, is 60-65. The southeastern quadrant of the city is the most beautiful area within the city that's undeveloped, ready to be teed up, but it's infrastructure challenge. It's expensive. It takes the initiative in addition to the ideas, the mindset, the visionaries. And so it's a collective effort for our community to see what they want to see develop there. Then also the decommissioning of the power plant, how that all ties in with 1,000 acres of undeveloped property. I mean, we get it routinely from national retailers that come in, like, wow, it's such a beautiful community. I fly over Springfield Lake and James River, and it's gone. Like, there's nothing for me to like attribute to, wow, how can I get down there and kayak or bike or do something? That should be a waterfront development. I mean, on steroids. I mean, there should be mixed use there. Why does it not happen? It's because it's very, very costly, it's very expensive, and it takes a lot of time and effort. But to me, not just specifically 60-65, but as a geographical area, what I don't want to see happen is the donut effect of like what we've seen in like St. Louis. You have all these different communities competing against each other, and that really doesn't do anyone any favors. So from economic development to redevelopment to new development, I think collectively between the development world, the retail world, multifamily world, industrial world specifically, it's got to be a cohesiveness and a common mindset to achieve the end goal.
There's a plan that's been going on since last October, financed largely through a grant from the U.S. Economic Development Administration, but also local participants doing the funding include the city, but the Hatch Foundation and city utilities. And by the end of the year, right after the early part of next year, we will be rolling out a plan for these 1,000 acres. And the idea in part that it should be catalyzing, much like Township was catalyzing, that we don't want to see developments that simply take care of themselves. We want to see developments that influence other properties and that things start to grow out from them. So keep your eyes open for that, and in fact, keep your eyes open for a ULI initiative that might take place out at the power plant. What are the other barriers to transformation? Mark, you want to? I keep coming back to you. You're our lone banker, but
he's a good boy.
One of the things that was talked, one of the things that was talked about was how long it takes to do a development project. Bob said 7 years. 70.
I've been working on the underground for 70 years.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought you said. That it's a 70-year overnight success, right?
Yep.
But development timeframes seem to take longer and longer because well, I'm not sure why, but has that been your experience? You've seen people come to you and then you don't hear from them, it's silent?
Well, obviously, interest rates have had a big impact on that. You know, for a long time, what took 30 days now takes 45 to 60. Maybe that's a home loan. What used to take 60 to 90, 6 months to a year, and then with everything we've gone through with construction costs, and now in the last 17 months, we've gone from Wall Street Journal Prime being 3.25 to 8.5. We're talking about 525 basis points increase, which is fast as it's ever done from what I can research in history. That puts people putting the brakes on projects. So, you know, if it's appraisals used to be done in 2 weeks, it's 3 weeks. Every part of the process is taking just longer. So when we get a request, it's you're in it for a while.
One thing on that, I think the owner occupant is able to do things in general much faster in most cases. Still takes a lot of time. But the spec development world is unprecedentedly difficult. When the cost of construction, the underwriting process, everything from just the idea to completion, I mean, it's years in most cases. I mean, what year did you start working on the plaza? 2 years ago? 2.5 years ago. We're probably 3 to 6 months out right there, and that's a big project. But this is not easy. But it goes back to the underwriting process, the entitlements, working with municipalities and MoDOT and all that. And so I think everything takes way longer, even the last 36 months.
How do you expect yourself and your company to be involved in the transformation of Southwest Missouri in the upcoming years? What's on the horizon for each of you personally?
I can speak to the behalf of financial institutions. We're only as good as the communities we serve. So if the community's not growing, getting better, we're not going to financially perform as well. We want to be more profitable, and when we're doing that, we're able to reinvest in the community. So we got to have a strong community, whichever community we're in serving, to be prosperous and be successful. So we need continued growth and continued recruitment of good staff, workforce, and want to see things continue to move forward.
The future for us, I'm lucky to work for a generational company, and not only the Springfield Underground is complete, if you will, but we are headed to the surface. But a lot of people in this room may not know that we're actively mining on the west side of town as well. So we own 740 acres near the airport.
And if people don't know that, then you're doing something right.
Well, that's true. But that's part of why I was hired too. So people do start to understand who we are and what we're doing and who the Urban Group is and how important we are to the community. And I told you 3.2 leasable square feet underground at the underground, but there's 5 million square feet when you count the roadways and whatnot. And what's interesting over on the west side of town is we're doing a 2-level mine over there. So when it's ultimately done, that will be 10 million square feet. And like I said, so that will be the next massive underground infrastructure development in this region. And that's 30 to 40 years from now.
I was going to say, that takes a while.
It takes a long time, but we see the benefit. I mean, we're lucky, I'm going to knock on wood here, but we're full of the underground. We know there's demand for it, and we're going to continue that way. So, and we're working, like I said, certification of the sites. We're working on the service on the west side as well. We're working with the railroad. The railroad's a very important piece to our business. The demand is massive, and it's only getting bigger as fuel prices go up. So we're developing our infrastructure on the rail, both on the east side of town and the west side of town. So we have a lot of exciting things happening.
Well, I'm usually the guy that comes in last. The development happens, then I'm called to market development. Over time, I've realized that development is very much like opening a restaurant. You know, you have the architects and engineers and finance guys in the kitchen building the plate. The chef is delivering it to the server, which is me, because I take all the credit and bring the food to the table and get paid all the commission, which is, the tips.
I was gonna say, but you don't get 20%, do you?
Oh, no. But ultimately, what I've noticed is that you can have a beast of a development that looks great, but if you don't touch on the social aspect, asking the customer what is that you want in a larger scale, and really that's one of the biggest pieces of development is getting feedback from the community to see what it is you want in the current day and what it is that you expect to have in the future. So with that said, for a future perspective, I encourage everybody to look at the technology aspects. Things are changing. Storage is going to be probably the biggest component of future development because storage now has to become accessible to the individuals that are getting everything else in the same location. And from there, I think the future is amazing with some of the new lifestyles that we're being introduced to, which the younger generations are looking for, which is everything to be handed to you with efficiency and ultimately at a cost that's relative to what they're making, and then not giving up any luxuries, but adding luxuries. Hers building is an incredible concept for office. They added a gym, they added a rooftop, they added a lounge, they added a movie theater. And this is for office users. So thinking ahead, offering more, but with a greater efficiency is probably the best aspect of the future.
So with TLC already having just over 4,000 units here in Springfield, we need the city to grow before we are able to kind of grow and expand our footprint here, because there has to be the demand, there has to be the jobs there. Hopefully Amazon can bring some other people in this area because that's been beneficial. We also are kind of trying to go for a more green footprint, and a lot of the next generation, they want that walkability. They want to decrease their impact on the clients. They're trying to cater towards that, doing solar on projects that is feasible, and then doing the smart apartments and stuff that they can control and to assist with that as well. And if you want other cool areas like hers, we have Heritage, so if you want those cool features, you can come see us over there.
What was the question again?
What are you doing in the future?
What are you gonna be doing? What do we see coming out of Marco Dennis in the future?
Well, that's a good question. But first, I think as a community, we need to educate everyone here in Springfield. Because everything we do here can have an effect on everyone. And I'm not picking on you, but I think the city also have a lot to do with what's going on here. There's also a lot of things we need to ease for developers, also from the city, to make things a little bit easier. But personally, me, with my company, I'm going to invest, I'm going to spend more money in Springfield. But at the same time, if we don't educate people here, most of the time we come in, we have an idea, we go somewhere, we want to do it, and then we have the neighbors who say, oh no, you're not going to do that. You see what I'm saying? And when we go to a bank, we ask for a loan, we get a loan. This thing costs us money every day, okay? And the moment we're fighting with the city, we're fighting with the neighbors, it's still costing us money. I mean, some of us get some tax credit, but I don't do that. I don't get that. So everything I spend out of my own pocket. And I don't want to go to the city or ask anyone for anything. But we just need to educate the population here, because I don't feel like they welcome to a lot of ideas. And the city cannot grow financially without different ideas. And we have a lot of people also who come in here, like a lot of college students, right? And when they come here, they graduate and they go because there's nothing else to do. I mean, if you look around right now, we see a lot of college everywhere. Things doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? So we need to bring something more valuable to the city where people want to stay here and invest. and the city need to help us, with the approval, and stuff like that, get things moving forward faster. And city council also, there's a lot of things I don't understand here. I'm not gonna go to that, but I think, the main thing is education. So if we're just gonna do something, we need to find a way to explain to the people what exactly we're going to do. And I feel like the city needs to help us with that.
I agree, 100%. And it's interesting, I've been involved in a pretty controversial rezoning proposal that is on the edge of the neighborhood. And it is interesting that, to me, that I've come across, and you guys can really identify with this, I think. I've come across some neighbors who are very bright, very accomplished, well-educated, successful in the eyes of the world. But it's surprising how little they know about development. And that, in fact, it made me realize, or reminded me, that we work in a world that has its own language, that has its own set of rules and conventions, and that sometimes we take that for granted. We think that what we know, everybody knows. It's just what we do. And so, all of us, I think, have a responsibility for, if we want to improve the environment in which we're working, is to make a smarter marketplace. And I told this group of people that I was talking to, I said, one of the problems is, this is a planning problem, and you're hiring lawyers. You're trying to solve a planning problem with the law. And that's not what this is. This is planning, not the law. And they kind of looked at me like I had a third ear. It's just very strange, but it made me realize that we do have a responsibility, those of us who want to be successful in this kind of initiative, that we've got to help educate the public. We didn't hear from what does a fourth generation firm do for
Trying not to get gray hair. Just briefly to touch on Marcos, and I do think that we can all work collectively, and that's why we also have elected officials. We have planning and zoning, we have city council, we have all these little subcommittees that help everybody through that process best they possibly can. And I think what Marco is saying is if the development community and the community can help educate what we see on the development side, as well as like the end user side, as to what they're experiencing in other communities, so that when we tell somebody, because the first thing on a lot of people's mouth is, what's Springfield like to do business in? I'm biased, I say it's great, and it is great, but we want to make this as efficient as we can and make it easy as we possibly can. And everybody's got their heart and interest. We all want to see this community grow. But I think it's a collective cohesiveness between the development community, redevelopment community, it doesn't matter if it's apartments, retail, whatever it may be, bank, it could be anything. But everybody in this room is here for a reason. They want to see the community grow and prosper. But we've got to simplify the process best we can. There's also procedural things that we can't change. We get that. And most of the users understand that. And these things take time. So I think it's not an easy answer, and there's no solution, a direct solution, but it's about us as a development community and the community investing in helping educate those people as to how those processes need to work and what ultimately is the end goal, whether it's a shopping center being built, a redevelopment office building. I realize that somebody may not want to have, a Starbucks right behind them because the lady's trying to yell real loud and try to order Starbucks coffee, but we all have to work together. Everybody has concerns, everybody has things they want to be mindful of, but at the same time we have to trust those elected officials that they've been put in that position to make those decisions on behalf of the public and private sector. So to your point on that, Tim, I can't make everybody happy, but it starts with education ultimately.
Well, and the other thing, I'm gonna use this time to put out the word that we are, at the city, we are just past the front door on the process of rewriting from scratch our zoning ordinance. And
Would be great.
that'd be great. And one of our main objectives is to make the zoning process easier and faster.
Yes.
And one of the things that we're doing right now is recruiting people to participate, citizens to participate on panels. We have 4 panels: neighborhoods, employment, corridors, and it's neighborhood, employment, corridors, and open space. Yeah, well, it's another one. And so far, we've had 100 people sign up. And if you sign up, we're gonna put you on one of those place teams. And you will be helping us between now and the end of next year, the end of 2024, writing a new zoning code. If you don't get involved, you'll get what we get. So if you have an interest in helping to rewrite the zoning code, and you want to be right there on the front lines of it, get involved. And you can find that on the Ford SGF website, www.fordsgf.com. There's a place where you can sign up. So let me
Does
know.
anything like, I mean,
Hit the mic, please.
I mean, what you just say is great information, but I just feel like if you didn't say that here today, I don't think I would know about it. So I feel like, is there another way where we can actually put that out there? Maybe we can get more people or people's more qualified to help you guys with the zoning thing?
Yes,
I mean,
we have been putting out the word this week to make sure that the enrollment time is closed, but one of the things that surprised us is that we got 100 people that more than half of them were generalists. A lot of them were people who live in the University Heights neighborhood. We need to get some super users, some experts, people like you.
I mean, I still feel like we, just like you said, most of the people usually because of quotas. So, and I do know Springfield, since I live here for such a long time, there's a lot of smart people here. There's a lot of people who's open-minded. I mean, by this thing is even close, I just don't feel like we're gonna get the result that we're supposed to get. I mean, I think we should extend it that a little bit longer and try to see if we can find more people, more residents on different neighborhoods.
Which is what we're trying to do.
To get involved.
Yeah, Jesse wants to.
Well, which is great to that you're rewriting those. However, I'm sure Ross can attest to this, being in a Ford generation, when you set policies 100 years ago, and people look at them and they're probably guidelines that were put in place, but when they're so specific, I know my team can attest to this, we don't see what's coming next year. And so we need to look more of as guideline. Here's the suggestions, because you don't know what other people are gonna come in, what ideas they're gonna have, and other things that they can make really great in that area, but it doesn't fit the zoning, or, oh, we can't do that, or we can't do this, or that's not allowed here. It's just being more open and having more of a guideline and not something so specific.
yes.
Which is exactly where we're trying to go.
I agree with what Marco was saying, and, it's kind of scary to hear that hopefully you're 10 or you get what you get. It's what we produce that day. But I think we do need the experts. I think it needs to evolve into more research, more education, basically taking the time, like you would with the business plan, to get the concept right, simulate all the ideas, and then eventually put it into practice. But I think it's a great idea. And I think this organization actually is a big part of that, so maybe that was your fourth finger that you're trying to think of.
Thanks. Well done, Gerald. That's exactly what I need. Thanks.
I think you're doing exactly the right thing by talking to folks like us to try to get us involved. You're putting us on the spot, right? And
Well,
what I would say is, you know, you can pretty much predict who's going to win an election by who's angriest. I've always said that. Whoever the most angry sector is probably who's going to win that election. And what I mean by that is those 100 people that signed up are frustrated. So you're challenging us to get back involved, and I think it's a fair challenge because there's got to be voices like ours in that room, or we're going to get what we get.
yeah. Now, fortunately, the firm that we've hired to actually do the coding is really good, and they have all kinds of expertise in it. But yes, we need the people who have the greatest stake in the outcome to be at the table. It's like John yesterday at a meeting said, you know, the saying is, if you're not at the table, then you're probably on the menu. And so yeah, we need you. Anything else? Because we can go to the questions if you're ready.
One last thing I'd say.
Yeah.
One thing on that point. I think if we could just not use the word no, that would be helpful. Because I think what happens sometimes is, as Jessica was saying, there is a gray area. And it's like, well, no, you can't do that. Well, how can we do it? You know, and I think that sometimes gets lost. And I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and there was a city that was there, Director of Economic Development. He said, we have a policy. We don't say no. It may end up being no. It may end up being no, but we're going to try to find a solution. Let's come back and see if there's a way we can work around it. Not stepping on neighbors' toes, that's not the point. It's just, no matter what the requirement is, he tells staff, he said, please don't say no. Figure it out, let's come up with a solution collectively and see if we can't work around it. Because a lot of times it's, you know, I talk to different people and it's well, no, we can't do that, no, we can't do that, no, we can't do that. That's not the city necessarily, but I just think that if we could just work together collectively, whether it's the city, zoning, city council, the business community, to help fill that gap. I think if we stop using no, I think that helps. As crazy as that sounds.
No, I can, now that I've been working in the public sector for 3.5 years, I have found that I enjoy my job much more when I'm able to answer how rather than no.
Exactly.
But sometimes how isn't yes, but it's definitely not no. And I think
Well, that's where that opportunity sails somewhere else. It
Yeah.
sails to Northwest Arkansas. It sails to somewhere else. And it's like, if we can just collectively, like, no, don't leave. Let's figure this out. Because if the ship leaves and you can't get it back to dock.
Well, let's see what our colleagues around us want to find out from us. First question is right there. What can neighborhoods do to find some common ground on a vision for an area or to attract developers that may share that vision? What can neighborhoods do? Who wants the mic?
Well, I guess my first question is, there actually neighborhoods that want multifamily coming in, so. Right?
Yes. I'll answer. Yeah, somebody just said yes, there are.
Back here.
Okay.
Help the neighborhoods help you. How can you?
Well, I think it's just partnering together and figuring out what you guys want and how we can kind of meet that need, because we're looking at, a lot of the things that we're looking at going forward is residential and commercial together, so that way we can bring in services that the people in that area want. What can we do to make it to where your community is walkable, that there's services downstairs and you don't have to actually leave, and it makes it more convenient for not only you, we all have tons of drive time, and if we can cut that out, then it would be great, and you can just walk where you need to go.
The real issue is impact, isn't it?
Right.
How do you impact the neighborhood positively, and how do you mitigate the negative impacts of
I promise we won't make your value of your homes go down. That seems to be the stigmatism that's out there. And no, we want to do what we can to beautify the area, to bring in residents that want to live there and people who want to be a part of that community.
mean, one thing I would add to that, usually like for developers, we have our own idea what we want to put on that neighborhood. And the neighborhood also have their own idea what they want. I feel like we are all fair people here in Springfield. I mean, everybody knows everybody here. I will say that if a neighborhood wants something, it should be easy for them to just sit down with the developer, have a meeting, and I'm pretty sure the developer would love to meet with the neighborhood. Because it's a win-win situation for everyone. Because we want to give you what you want, and we want to build what we feel like will be good for the neighborhood. But sometimes what we think will be good for the neighborhood is not actually what the neighborhood want. But if we sit together, you get what you want, and we get to build things for the people also in the neighborhood.
I think it goes back to your point of not saying no, because especially trying to go into a neighborhood and all of a sudden they're just saying no, and then it's, a lot of those projects are then dropped and we just back away because it's not worth the fight. But if they would come back in, we're more than happy to have community meetings and figure out what they want and see how we can best impact their community.
Yeah, I think, good point, is that all of us need to stop saying no and start saying how. And without giving away our own interests. Yeah, how do you plan on including neighborhoods in your planning and keeping existing communities' identities and their rich histories intact, especially in southeast Springfield? Anybody want to?
I think that's the same answer. I mean,
I think a lot of times too is that, well, generally speaking, we like to be brought in really early into the stage and very early, before you even, we want to do just a quick analysis on what, if it's a ground up, unentitled parcel, what are the obstacles we're going to face first? Come up with a plan, run the densities, and then back into it before you even get to planning and zoning, get to that. Because I think what Marco was saying is people, they don't like to get blindsided. They go in there and like, my God, can you believe they're going to build this right behind my house? Well, I think if you have that meeting from the onset, or a pre-development meeting, and welcome some of those people and show them kind of in general what you're trying to do, but not be specific. May not all agree to that plan, but I think they like to be informed about what's going on, because what happens a lot of times is people, they just go in and maximize the density on the development. They go in for the first round of comments and review at planning and zoning, and they'll show up and like, well, nobody told us it was going to do this and that. And I think there's some transparency sometimes would be some of my advice in doing that kind of proactively and feeling that out, and that way you can tender a plan that's probably more chance of it being more successful.
In the last year, we've been, the Lake Springfield plan, for example, we had a neighborhood meeting and we had no proposal. We had nothing, but we wanted the neighbors to come. And the neighbors came and they were like, wait, show us what you're planning so we know what to hate. And we were like, no, we don't have anything. We actually do want to know what your interests are. We want to hear from you. And once they understood that, we suddenly started receiving great ideas from the neighborhood about what could happen. So process is really important. We got time for one more. And Nancy's going to find us that brilliant question that allows you all to demonstrate incredible insight. What kind of transformational developments do you see happening in downtown Springfield? Do you want to start that, Gerald?
Sure.
Again, transformational developments.
My personal experience starts just a year ago when I started listing properties downtown. And I started hearing from the property owners and property users, tenants, or even owner occupants. And, one of the biggest factors that I realized is hindering downtown is the maintenance aspect. So on an economic standard, there wasn't enough maintenance dollars going into downtown to create a current highest and best value or a future highest and best value. But going back to a composition of everything here, and why I mentioned downtown Springfield is my fourth favorite, is because it's the untouched problem. You have developments that have succeeded and plays a big role as creating concepts and processes to future development. And I'm going to simplify it back to my restaurant ideology. You can buy or you can lease a vacant space and have to put in all the plumbing, electric, everything down to the equipment to run a restaurant. Or you can purchase or rent a space that has the infrastructure and benefit from reducing costs because all you need to do is just revitalize it. So that's where downtown is we already have infrastructure that you can almost hit the reset button on, use what's there, and build a much better opportunity at a lower cost. Looking at it in a perspective of acquisitions, it's generally a lower price per square foot, so it gives an investor an opportunity to have a good starting point. And if we include, or if we take advantage of what's there already, and I'm going to simplify again, I've seen a lot of student housing, I've seen a lot of multifamily, but what's depreciating is possibly retail, the office environment. If that's the demand, and all we have to do is revitalize it to be able to incorporate some of those sectors, then we have the potential of a good downtown. But I'm going to go back to Lester, Cox, and Larry Lipscomb. They traveled to different cities to get a visual of what a downtown should be. And I actually did that last summer. And I drove from Springfield to Colorado to California. And I looked at all their downtowns and just wished we had that in our downtown Springfield. Some of the suggestions that I would make, and I think there's a actual committee meeting on Monday, and that's going to be a big conversation piece about downtown. But where I would start is what drives development to the point of success. So you can build a Chesterfield, you can build a farmer's park, you can build a big project and never have a client, customer, tenant, buyer come. Ultimately, what you can do downtown is basically start the planning phases and just talk to the community. That's a social aspect of development, is start talking to the user, asking them what would they like to have if we were to rebuild downtown.
I want to thank each of you for taking the time out of your day to come, to the preparation and forethought that you had. I'd also ask if you're able to stick around, because I am sure that based on what you all have said, that there are people in the tables around us that want to say hi, maybe get your card, and learn a little bit more. So thank you so much for coming, and let's show our appreciation for this